It's Friday afternoon in Sydney. It's a little bit overcast. We've still got the Matildas on the building behind me here. Such a shame they didn't make it through to the final, but it's still going to be a very exciting weekend to find out who wins the Women's World Cup. Hi there, my name is Mark Smith. I am the Group Managing Director of People to People in Australia and the UK, and from recruitment in New Zealand. And this is P2P Live, where we talk about everything jobs and employment throughout Australia. There's a lot to talk about today. We've got two hot jobs in Australia, a financial analyst position and a legal position. Then we've got an opportunity in the UK if you're a working holiday maker or you're an Aussie heading on over. And of course, we've got an opportunity across the ditch in New Zealand as well. Then we've got a little bit of time to talk about the perils of remote working and how that can lead to some pretty difficult conversations. So we'll be having a chat to Jess O'Brien from the Sydney team just to find out more about that. I think she actually ran a poll on LinkedIn recently as well. So we'll find out more about that. And speaking of polls, we've got the Twitter poll from the last week, where we asked the question, would you consider job hopping as a career progression strategy? So we'll find out that result as well. Heaps to talk about. And yes, we can see your comments live. So Jordan, yeah, the beard lives on. I'm still having a little bit of a problem here about whether I should actually keep it. So if you do have any comments on, then we can see them live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, and we can jump into that as well. So anyway, let's get into this week's Stat of the Week. And of course, the stat of this week was the release of the unemployment numbers that came out on Thursday. And not too much of a surprise. A little bit on the downside in that that the unemployment rate just ticked up a little bit. And you can see for the last year, we're in this highly unusual circumstance where in January, and I'm talking about the seasonally adjusted numbers here, then in January, we were at 3.7% unemployment, seasonally adjusted. February, 3.6. March, 3.5. April, 3.7. May, 3.6. June, 3.5. And suddenly, in July, we're up to 3.7. There's a trend here. Something's going on? Is there somebody at the ABS that's keeping it bumping along between 3.6 and 3.5? It is certainly quite interesting to see that the unemployment rate increased to 3.7. Is it a longer term trend? Doesn't look like it so far. Participation rate decreased to 66.7. The number of actual people employed in Australia is 14,026,700. And the number of hours worked increased to 1.952 million. Are you working harder right now? And also a slight increase in the number of part-time employed people, up 9,600. So interesting, but it's steady as she goes on the unemployment rate. And that is this week's Stat of the Week. The hot jobs in Australia this week, and it was great to see the Oz Top Dog ad there. Their voting is on now, so jump into that. The winners will be announced next week. But before we do that, we've got a financial analyst job in South Yarra. It's paying it's a temp job. It's paying $55 to $65 an hour. You're reporting through to the CFO, and as a financial analyst, you'll be responsible for building complex financial models on Excel, building relationships with key stakeholders, and analyzing quite large data sets. So you need to have experience building three-statement financial models And if you're interested in this one, you need to get in touch with Zara Morton from our Melbourne team. That's zara.morton@people2people.com.au. Of course, you can hit apply now. In the comments there, you'll see the job. Yes, you can learn more also by picking up the phone. Here's the next opportunity that we've got, and this is a legal position. It's in Sydney. It's working with a law firm here in Sydney, and it's a permanent position paying $65,000, supporting a senior legal secretary in the real estate team of this particular firm. So you'll be responsible for diary and email management and drafting basic correspondence and some ad hoc administrative duties. 6 months experience at a minimum you've got to have in an administrative role to apply for this one. And it also needs somebody who's proactive and with a real can-do attitude. Now, a lot of law firms, we'll learn more about this with Jess O'Brien, do require people to go back into the office. So you've got to keep that in mind, particularly at the beginning of your career. If you'd like to learn more, hit apply now or give Kalinda a call, 02-8270-9715, or her email is on the screen there as well. And that's this week's 2 hot jobs of the week. If Matildas can't win the World Cup, then maybe you have to move to London. And here's a job for you. It's a technical designer's role. It's working in London. It's 170 to 200 pounds a day for this particular role. You need to speak to Maddie Liang in our London team. That's Lang, I should say. Maddie Lang at people2people.co.uk. You can see her email address on the screen there. So as a technical designer, you will be turning conceptual office designs into detailed technical plans that can be executed by a construction team. So the contract role starts for an initial 4-week period, and there is the potential to go longer, paying 170 to 200 pounds a day. So proven experience as a technical designer or a similar role to get this role, and give Maddie a call or hit apply now in the comments there to learn more about this particular opportunity in London. Now, maybe you don't want to go to London. Maybe you want to go across the ditch to New Zealand. And we have another opportunity through our sister company, Frog Recruitment, and there's a video for that one. So let's roll the tape.
Currently working with an insurance company who's looking for a claims administrator to join their team on a 12-month fixed-term contract. This role is located in the CBD and is paying about $70,000 annually. It is a Monday to Friday role from 8:30 to 5 p.m. They are looking for someone to join the claims team and help out with some bank invoicing and processing of payments, as well as ensure that all invoices that are outstanding are followed up, and a bit of data entry to ensure that databases are updated and maintained regularly. They are wanting someone who can start as soon as possible. If you think this is the role for you, please reach out on my information below.
Everybody loves remote working, but apparently there are perils in doing it. And so we're going to have a quick chat to Jess O'Brien from the People to People Sydney team. Afternoon, Jess. Did you get to the Matildas game?
I watched it in the Allianz Stadium, but I was not there in person, no.
Oh, you were outside the Allianz Stadium, were you?
They played it on the screens, yeah. So I felt like I was very much there.
Not like in the fan zone. Wow.
Yeah.
So was it fun? Too busy?
It was my first football game, I'll admit, to actually watch from start to end. So it was a good one, but obviously not as good as we thought.
No, exactly. So, but let's talk about the perils of remote working. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so essentially with the influence of remote working, in the last couple of years across all sectors, we have seen that it's essentially here to stay. But with that, we have seen a certain level of employee disengagement with remote working. So we are finding that at times some employees, particularly new starters, would tend to disengage when being onboarded remotely. And really technology poses kind of an added layer, and that makes it a bit more difficult to have those difficult conversations around performance management and professional development in the workplace. So what we're really trying to do is tackle that. And we've got a guest speaker coming in for our final Lunch and Learn event of the quarter. So we have a guest speaker called 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐨𝐵 coming in, and she's talking about different ways to combat that and how to kind of from anywhere from delivering bad news through to performance management, introducing new training plans, and really it's focused around better ways to kind of combat that and breaking down those barriers, and focusing, I guess, on targeting HR managers and hiring professionals.
Yeah, it's certainly the topic of the moment, where the idea of working from home and for both the employee and the employer, there's a disconnect, isn't there? And sometimes you've got to have these difficult conversations about it. You also did. So if you wanted to sign up, by the way, for those who are watching, then we'll put a link in the comments there so that you can actually sign up to attend that particular event in Sydney. When's it on again, by the way, Jess, before we move on?
It is on the 13th of September. It's a Wednesday, 12:30 to 2 p.m. So you can come in and out on your lunch break. There'll be catering provided, and pretty much good networking event, really.
Fabulous. So you also did a LinkedIn poll recently, didn't you?
Yes.
About working from home. Tell me more about that one.
Yeah, so I pitched it to my LinkedIn network and asked, what do you think in terms of having those organic one-to-ones with your manager? Would you prefer that to be remote or in person? And 86% said that they would prefer that to be in person. So, really one-to-ones, and I guess giving a space to have that organic discussion on, maybe what's going on in your life or your professional development. Really, the masses prefer to have that in person. So that's what we're trying to work towards. And that's why I think the event will be a strong kind of focus on that.
Very, very. So there'll be some useful tips, some takeaways on how to actually have conversations about that. Interestingly, I heard a client just yesterday had somebody resign because they were fully remote, and then they brought in an enforced hybrid model 3 days a week, and one of their people resigned. Just 2 days later, going, no, that's it. I'm not doing that. I'm out. Have you had that experience at all?
Yes, definitely, particularly in the legal market. Look, being within legal support, it depends on the practice area, but certain practice areas like litigation, it really is important that you are in the office to all kind of work together, and it's obviously a fast-paced environment. So we are finding a lot of firms are moving back to a 5 days in the office model, which definitely has caused some movement in the market for sure. Certain people definitely want to keep that working from home.
Okay, so so there's a lot to take away there. So if anybody wants to have a chat to you about maybe the legal market, all these perils, or even about the event, how would they get in touch with you there, Jess?
They can get in touch with me on the details below. So 0282709750 is my direct number, or pop you an email through to jessica@people2people.com.au.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again for joining us here on P2P Live, and hope to see you again soon. Let's move on then and have a look at the Twitter poll result of last week. So we actually asked this question: would you consider job hopping as a career progression strategy? And in Australia, hashtag P2P Australia Live, 62% said yes. Job hopping, changing jobs, going out into the market and securing a new opportunity is a strategy to secure career progression. I thought that was very interesting. I actually thought it'd be more 50-50, but maybe it's a sign of the times with the cost of living pressures and the like, that people are thinking, well, if I can't get a pay rise now, or I need my career to move, I have to change jobs. So very interesting to see that 62.3%. If you'd like to see all of the results of our polls, you can quickly go to @people2people on X, I think it is these days, not Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. If you just search that hashtag, you'll see the results week in, week out. Now, I can actually see here that Garesh says, I got to keep the beard. Thanks, Garesh. Taking advice. It's nearly, I reckon I'm running at about 99% that I have to keep it. So thanks very much for that. Right. So next week, we will not have a P2P Live, and we do not have a poll for next week. What we do have, though, is the results of Top Dog, Oz Top Dog for 2023, and the polls are still open. You need to cast. You can cast your vote to have for the People Choice Awards. The ceremony is next Friday at 12:30 p.m. at this time when we have P2P Live. Thanks again to our sponsor, Indeed. But the winners will be announced on that day. But you can still vote now. Jump onto our socials or go to oztopdog.com.au and get in there and let us know who your favourite top dog is for 2023. Okay, that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for P2P Live. Won't see you next week because it's the finals for Oz Top Dog, but we'll do it all again in a fortnight's time. We'll see you then.